I think there's plenty of times when abortions are featured, but one of the things I like about this film is that it's a kind of caper movie in a way. It's like you often get this for like male characters where like we've got to get this much money by this time in order to do this thing, but it's about getting an abortion, and that in itself I think is a nice kind of reversal, and it kind of really normalizes abortion, which I think is a good thing.
Hey guys, this is Flixwatcher Podcast, and you are now listening to episode 55. On this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast, we're going to be talking about the Lily Tomlin film Grandma, as chosen by Jen.
Hello.
And Dave.
Hello.
From many podcasts, including Getting Better Acquainted and The Family Tree. As always, I'm joined by Helen.
Hello.
And I'm Kobi. Hello.
Warning, there will be spoilers, there will be bad language. As always, the films that we're reviewing were available to stream at the time of recording.
As always, guys, we have all the show notes online at flixwatcher.tv for all the episodes, so please come and visit us there. Of course, join us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and please come to iTunes, rate us, and subscribe.
Hello and welcome to Flixwatcher Podcast. Today we are joined by Jen and Dave, and we're going to be discussing Jen's choice, Grandma. But before we do that, if you would like to say hello and tell us a little bit more about the podcast that you're involved in.
Hi, I'm Jen, and with Dave, I write and produce the Family Tree podcast, which is a magical realist drama.
Yeah, dramatic fiction, audio drama. There's lots of ways you can call it. And yeah, we made The Family Tree, which is kind of a weird spin-off from my real, not fictional podcast, Getting Better Acquainted, which is a show that I do where I just talk to people, which I've been doing since 2011. And I've not run out of people yet.
Both myself and Helen have been on your show.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Jen as well. Jen's a frequent guest as well.
You almost frowned when you said that.
I always think there's never going to be any more, and there's always more.
There's always more to talk about.
And I guess context for people, me and Jen are co-producers of The Family Tree, and we're partners in that, but we're also partners in a different way in that we're in a relationship. We've been in a relationship for 17 years.
That's why I find myself on Getting Better Acquainted a lot.
A lot.
But it's also must be quite fascinating. There's always more stuff to talk about, to uncover each time you come on the show.
That's right. We only come on the show to learn more about each other.
Yeah. Too busy doing podcasts. Never see each other.
I guess the first time you guys came on, The Family Tree had only just been released.
That's right.
And at the time, it wasn't that clearly a fictional podcast. You tried to mask it as, could this be real? But now you've come out and said it's a fiction.
Well, by now, people, if they're listening from episode 1, if they haven't worked out it's a fiction, then I worry about if they understand what's going on around them just generally. Like there's a kind of a middle point in season 1 where if you're still believing it's a fiction after that, then you're very good at believing.
And there have been a few people who've been very good at believing.
There have been, yeah. I mean, we didn't try to make it ambiguous as such. We did want people to know it was a fiction, and maybe we should have tried a bit harder with that to kind of fully signpost it as a fiction. But it is kind of playing with that kind of docu-drama, like, is it real? Is it like... And I am playing myself in it, so it is peculiar.
I mean, the first time I listened to it, I thought it was coming off the back of Serial, and it was like a whodunit kind of thing, wasn't it?
It begins like that, for sure.
Yeah, and then at one episode it just kind of turns upside down.
Yeah, it's almost a what if this was real kind of thing is the way we treat it.
And there are real bits as well. There are like conversation bits with real experts and stuff like that. So it does definitely blur the line between it. But it's a when we say magical realist, we mean that in the big sense of the word magical. Like there's some strange things that happen in that show.
Cool.
And this is your second time sort of coming on the show, because we've had you on before and we reviewed The Lobster and the Little Prince, so 2 quite different films. But today we're here for Grandma.
So this is your choice, Jen.
It was, and like The Lobster, which I chose last time, I have seen it before, which is... I always want to see things again because I don't remember anything.
Well, this is quite a short film, so it couldn't have been that much... couldn't have been too arduous for you.
No, I really enjoyed that about it, actually. I like a short film.
We do like a short
Everyone
film
likes
here.
Everyone that comes to this podcast likes a short film. I think that's one thing about Netflix is like, you do look at the running time, don't you?
Definitely. And actually, it passed the cup of tea test. Normally, we like to pause in the middle of a film and make a cup of tea. We didn't even have to do that for Grandma. We got all the way to the end without making a cup of tea.
Was that a conscious decision, or was it just like, oh, it's the end now?
We didn't look. So we didn't get to the point where we felt we needed to look and see how much was left.
Right, and we knew it was short anyway, so I guess
Yeah.
we were expecting not to make a cup of tea, but well, yeah, we didn't, and that definitely was the case.
So, what happens in it, Jen?
The sort of the main narrative is that it's a teenage girl who sort of goes on a mission with her grandma to get together the money that she needs to have an abortion. That's sort of the surface story, but it isn't really about that. It's more about the grandma's journey, Lily Tomlin's journey, sort of addressing things in her past and taking responsibility for things.
And grief.
And
right.
grief.
So this is the second time you watched it. So why did you think it was worth watching again for us guys? Or was it just a memory jogger for you?
It pretty much was it was a memory jogger for me, but also I knew that I had really, really liked it, and I knew that Dave really liked it. And also when we were talking about it, Dave said he thought Helen would really like it. So then that sort of made the decision, really.
I've noticed this is the first time a recommendation has been made based on anyone's opinion. So what were your thoughts, Helen? Did you really like it?
Didn't.
Oh, no.
That's interesting.
When we got the choices, I looked it up and thought, this looks interesting. This looks like one that I might have missed. But yeah, I liked what it was doing, sort of. But I think in its shortness, the characters aren't quite as fleshed out as they probably could have been.
Right.
And it kind of misses a little bit in that. But I did really enjoy Judy Greer in it.
Okay.
I thought
just
she
as a
was
callback to Arrested Development.
Well, yeah, and also that she's great. So I did really enjoy that. And there were some other kind of funny bits. But yeah, I just felt it could have done a bit more. I was left wanting a little bit more from the characters and a little bit more. I think the bit on grief was kind of overlooked a little bit because the character is still in mourning. And we don't really get a picture of who they're mourning and what they were like before, but you get a sense that when that person was around, they were a much sort of brighter person. And because you don't have that contrast, you just sort of see
The aftermath.
Grandma as being this very bitter, angry, aggressive person. And you think, well, surely the reason that the grief has kind of been this catalyst is there was a different person before then, and even at the end you don't really see a shadow of probably what that person was. So it just felt like it was an angry person for 80 minutes and I was like waiting for the other side to sort of show the journey that they'd made, which didn't really happen.
Do you guys think that Lily Tomlin's character is an angry, bitter person?
Yes.
Yes.
That's definitely true.
But that doesn't mean that she's not relatable. Like for me, she's super relatable because I'm kind of an angry, bitter person myself. And so from that side of things, I really enjoy. One of the things I really enjoy about Grandma is, like she's a woman who is angry and bitter, and we see a lot of men who are angry and bitter. And when I watch them, I have to feel really guilty about the fact that I'm an angry, bitter man. But when I'm watching a woman doing it, I'm like, oh, maybe it's not something that's innate to my gender. Maybe it's just a quality that people can have.
Not just Bill Murray can do this.
Right, exactly. Exactly, right. And yeah. And also Lily Tomlin does it in a different way to Bill Murray. Like there's a lot more kind of depth to what she does, which is not meant to be a slight on Bill Murray's amazing performances, but I really rate to her. But then I guess, it's all of these things are really contextual. Like she's not unlike members of my family, and so there's a lot of like that. Like the family setup is generally not unlike my family. Like the kind of hippie influences, the kind of arty bohemian stuff are things you can detect within my family. And so for me, it's a rare moment of seeing kind of a familiar kind of family. Like most families I see are not like mine in films. So. But I guess that's a personal thing.
I think you do get echoes of a sort of a softer grandma through her as well. I get what you're saying about how you don't see how she was before, but that didn't really bother me. I think I sort of saw the whole, because the character's a poet, I sort of saw the whole thing as a poem. And if you look at it from that point of view rather than as a sort of a novel, if you're going to give it a kind of a literary equivalent, it kind of doesn't feel like it needs to have that backstory in the same way. It's sort of almost more like a snapshot of here is this person and this is why. Here is this person now and this is why.
Because when you guys said angry and bitter, I mean, the film starts off with her granddaughter saying, I need an abortion. And Lily says, have you told your mum? She says, no, straight away.
Right.
So that immediately sets it up as like she's the more sympathetic of the two main female protagonists in her life. So that made me perhaps not consider her as being angry and bitter, but more of a reasonable person who's got maybe a few things to deal with like everyone else. So I didn't really see...
Yeah, no, that's fair. And there is that moment, I think there's lots of moments where you do see softer sides of the grandma character.
Yeah.
And there's like a moment that I particularly relate to, unfortunately, where like she says to her granddaughter, of course you can call me grandma. Like she just lost her shit in the coffee shop, and they're in the car afterwards, and she's just told her granddaughter not to call her grandma because she was embarrassed by her age in that context. And then afterwards she's like, of course you can, I'm sorry, I was just angry, that's just a thing I say when I'm angry. And I super relate to that because as Jen will probably no doubt be able to kind of agree with, like when I'm angry I say things I don't mean, and then afterwards I kind of feel bad about it, right? And so I relate to that moment quite a lot. And I think you can see those kind of moments within the grandma character, that she gets angry and then you also see the other side of how she feels about it afterwards. Like you do see those moments, I think.
How aware are you guys of Grace and Frankie?
Oh, well, we're up to date on Grace and Frankie, and we're looking forward to the new season.
So as we're recording, the new season's going to come out in a few days' time. Helen's looking blank-faced.
I have no idea.
Yeah. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. It's very good.
Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin.
Yeah.
And,
Martin Sheen.
Right, Martin Sheen.
June Diane Raphael.
Oh, yeah, she's amazing
She's
in that.
amazing in it. I often call her Brianna and Frankie because they're...
Right.
But I guess that's another reason. Frankie, Lily Tomlin plays Frankie in Grace and Frankie, and her character is in no way, shape or form bitter and angry.
That's right. This is like a dark Frankie.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about that actually, and although the characters aren't similar, there's a very Lily Tomlin feel to both characters. So she definitely brings herself into what she does. Right.
She's got a certain kind of way of delivering lines, and she's a comedian, right, as well. So there's that. She's got
albums apparently with her.
Right. Yeah, that's right. She's a singer too, but she's got timing. Like that's like definitely got timing.
How aware were you guys of Lily Tomlin outside of Grace and Frankie and Grandma?
I'm trying to think what she's been in. I just know her
from being around,
from being her, but I can't think of.
I mean, the biggest film is 9 to 5, which she's in with Dolly Parton and Jane Fonda. This is like was it in the 80s or late 70s?
Yeah, that's right.
So that was a huge film about women overtaking a boss who's a complete dick.
Yeah.
So there's kind of parallels to things nowadays.
She's got a kind of history of doing kind of feminist films, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But then, like yourself, I think she's just been someone I've known of as a
one
comedian.
Of those sort of faces and kind of smaller parts that adds a bit of excitement to
a role.
Films every now and again.
She's also there's a quote by her that I often use, which is forgiveness means giving up all hope for a better past, right? And I don't know if she said that in a film or if she said that where she said that, but that's my main experience of Lily Tomlin before I saw Grace and Frankie, was just this like powerful quote that like meant a lot to me at certain times in my life.
Sure. So you talked about Judy Greer, Helen. Any of the other characters you want to?
Well, no. Another thing, I think the granddaughter in this, I didn't really get on with her.
Right,
really?
She was a bit sort of a side character, and against Grandma's sort of really strong personality, she just came across as either not particularly well fleshed out or a bit nothing. And then the daughter coming in a bit later on, again, I felt that was just a bit, oh, mum's really angry and has no time for people, kind of a little bit stereotype, hates her mum and it's all a big mistake. And I don't know, I didn't get on with those two characters.
I mean, do they hate each other? I don't know. I think.
When you say they, who do you mean? Sorry.
Well, any of the three
Okay.
central women, the mum, the daughter, and the grandma. Like, I don't really think they do hate each other. I think they're very similar to each other, and that's why they're kind of endlessly clashing. I don't know.
And I think they're almost used to sort of symbolise things about grandma, I think, rather than... I can definitely see the argument for them being perhaps less well-rounded characters than they might be. But I also think that maybe that was a deliberate choice to use them as sort of bits of grandma almost.
In a way, but I think they are quite rounded characters as well. The other actor that we're not mentioning so far is Laverne Cox, who plays Deathy who's
great. I really enjoyed
right.
her role, and it's different. I don't know whether it's just the acting in it from certain characters is much more sort of real, or
Right.
I feel it a little bit more, whereas other performances in it are like they're acting a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, performance is a really specific thing as well. Like, so what one person enjoys in terms of acting is often what really turns somebody else off. So it's hard to comment on that, because it's like I have the opposite experience of it, but I recognise yours is equally valid. It's funny because like the reason I thought that you, Helen, would like this is because it's kind of a kind of indie movie, kind of, it's a little bit Wes Anderson in some ways, like some of the things I know that you like. But it's so funny because this is the thing. You could on paper something can sound like it's going to fit someone, and then you give it to them. It's like you give someone a cake and then they look at it like, that's full of disgusting stuff. I would never eat that. And it's like, oh, that's a shame.
But as I say, it on paper it looks like something that would be my film, and obviously, I don't know, it's strange, isn't it? But I did sort of look at it and go, oh yeah, I like her. It sounds kind of interesting. Be interesting to see kind of how, because obviously the other film that we've got, which is an obvious comparison, would be Juno. Yeah. In terms of American,
right?
In terms of an
alternative
abortion
films
story.
about abortion.
Yeah, that's true, and there aren't very many films
also,
about abortion. To be fair, that's definitely in this film's
and also it's
plus
a big
points.
factor in Dirty Dancing.
That's true, but it's less.
Less of a feature.
There's plenty of features.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of times when abortions are featured. But one of the things I like about this film is that it's a kind of caper movie in a way. It's like you often get this for like male characters where like we've got to get this much money by this time in order to do this thing, but it's about getting an abortion, and that in itself I think is a nice kind of reversal, and it kind of really normalizes abortion, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't feel at any point that there was any chance that they weren't going to get any money.
You didn't think there was any jeopardy in there?
No, I didn't. But I didn't mind that because I didn't really feel like that was what it was about. So, but I was at no point worried about them not making the. I should have been, because they were clearly not going to make the appointment. But about them getting the money.
I never even thought about that. I just thought it was just a journey, that whether it happened, or if it didn't, it didn't. It was
I mean, they
didn't
make it. They don't make it in time. They do get the money, but like in theory, there's a load of other ways that they could have got the money than the way that they got the money anyway.
Yeah. I think I like the idea of what you say of a caper. And for me, agreeing with yourself, Jen, but for me, the kind of, we need to get the money by 5:45 is just a framing device to kind of box the film in, because she would have just booked another appointment.
Yeah.
So it was never really that much of like we need to get there. It's not like the last day before it becomes illegal to give her.
But it's almost like it's an emotionally important thing. She's made this decision, so it has to be this day.
Yeah.
Just because that's what she planned. That's the way that she wants it to be. And there's another factor of it as well, which is like this film systematically deconstructs the concept of a grandparent. Like it starts with Lily Tomlin splitting up with her younger lover, and it's a scene that you don't expect a grandparent to have, and then everything that happens from there out onwards says, lots of grandparents are not like all of the representations of grandparents that we've seen.
Yeah.
Like lots of them are friends with trans women who are tattooists and who are like and have and that's why that's one of the things I like about it, is how it makes you kind of see this idea of a grandparent in a completely different way.
I mean, we see lots of examples nowadays about underrepresentation of women, different races, different sexualities. But one thing we don't hear much about is representation of older generations, really.
That's true. Yeah.
So Grace and Frankie is a fantastic example of just people just getting on with their lives, and it's great.
Right.
And I think Lily Tomlin's kind of at the sharp end of this. I don't know if it's a movement, but it's certainly something we should try and see more of, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's even in fact, like she doesn't even have like grey hair, let alone white hair. Like, and then that's very representative. Like my mum's grandmother age, and like she is a grandmother. Yeah, that's right.
The Martin, what's his name?
Oh,
Martin Sheen. Are you talking about Grace and Frankie now?
No, so I'm on the wrong one. Who do I mean? The
Sam
guy
Worthington.
in this.
the guy with the deepest
the
voice
guy
ever.
with
That
the
was in
really
the
good
Big
voice.
Band.
Sam Elliot, isn't it?
That's right.
Sam Elliot, that's it.
From the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
He's got such a good voice.
Yes.
He
Really
has.
good voice. But also, apart from that, he's also a grandparent, isn't he? And
Yeah.
he's also sort of not what you think of when you think of
Right.
a grandparent.
I mean, and he's like maybe the only really big man part in the film. There are a couple of other ones. We realised when I was saying this last night that actually there are a few more men than I thought, sadly. But like he's an interesting character in itself. Like because he's not good and he's not bad. Like he does some dodgy stuff and also he's being mistreated, but he mistreats back. But at the same time, like he literally is a patriarch. Like that, she even says like you're a patriarch, and so like he's the only time a man gets any screen time of substance in this film, and I liked that. Like I liked there not being very many men.
Absolutely.
What did you think of it, Kobi?
Yeah,
like you haven't shown your cards.
I was going to maybe uncover that in the scores. I liked it. I mean, I remember when it came out in the cinema, and it didn't grab me enough to want to go and see it. I guess I didn't know. Maybe had I seen Grace and Frankie before it coming out, I would have been like, yeah, let's go and see Grandma. But it didn't make me think, let's go and see this right now. But I was very pleased it came on to Netflix, and I was very pleased that you, Jen, chose it, because it's been one of those things that have been cycling around on my Netflix list that I've just not got around to seeing. Not the best, not my favourite film, indie type film, I'd say, but very good, very passable. I guess we'll reveal more in the scores.
See how the scores go.
Yeah.
The spreadsheet of dreams. So the first up is the recommendability score. So all the scores are out of 5. You can have decimal places should you wish.
Yep.
Should you feel inclined. So yeah, recommendability. How likely are you to recommend this to someone, and sort of your overall feelings about it? So we'll start with you, Jen, 'cause it's your choice.
I think probably said this last time. I always have trouble with scoring things, and the problem with recommendability is, I think I would strongly recommend it to some people, but probably not to everybody.
So who wouldn't you recommend this to?
See, I'm also now aware that we recommended it to Helen, and or we thought Helen might like it, and she didn't. So now I'm
she's
thinking,
proved
but would
that it's a bad idea to recommend
No, I
things.
don't think so. See, there's lots of things that I really, really like about it. I really like the central character, and I really like Deathly as a character, and I think Judy Greer is great in it. And I really like the fact that its kind of plot line is getting enough money together to go and have an abortion. But I just felt that it was such a shame that some of the supporting characters weren't as good as some of the main ones. And I felt that even though it was quite short, things were sort of, everything's all right again. And we didn't mention that there was some kind of quite a long gap between when the daughter had last had contact with the grandma, and they sort of met as if they'd, argued with each other, just a week ago or something. And it was all kind of resolved a little bit too nicely and easy at the end. So there's a lot of things I do really like about it. And I don't think that me not finding it my favourite film should be a reason for you to not continue to recommend to people.
I think,
if that makes sense.
Because on paper you would have, like you said, you would think, this is...
When I saw what it was, I was like, I'd not heard of that. It looks interesting. It looks exactly like the kind of film I'd be into. It's got Judy Greer in it.
So I think I would recommend it to people who like arty independent films, not people who are into big action, I guess. So probably overall, maybe a 3.
My score for it in terms of recommendability, I think the thing is that I don't think that you're going to really upset someone if they don't like this film if you recommend it. Or that said, if someone is upset when they watch this film, they probably I'm probably glad about that. Like if someone's like really offended by this film, then I want them to be offended because they need to be like challenged in those kind of ways. Because I think the only reason that you might like seriously object to this film is if you have kind of regressive ideas around abortion or women. So you should have to watch this film if you have those things. So I'm going to say 5 because I do love it. I do love the film.
Fantastic. Helen?
I mean, going on that, you could sort of say, I'm going to recommend it to everyone who doesn't like lesbians and is anti-abortion and doesn't like seeing women on screen, etc. No, being silly. I think there's no reason why I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who has sort of a general kind of interest in alternative American films. I was just felt a little bit short by it. That was personally. So how does that translate? I'm going to go for a 3. And also, we've had films that I've watched through this podcast and will not get that time back. I did not feel that I'd wasted time watching this. So it was, and it is really short. And I think you'll get a feel for whether you like it or not quite early on. But it's really short. So if you like kind of alternative American road trip comedy dramas, then give it a go.
I'm going to go 3 as well, I think it makes sense. It's a nice film. I'm ultimately feel that I didn't benefit. I mean, this will be reflected in the small screen score, but I don't think there's any need for me to have seen it in the cinema. So having it somewhere on Netflix is the perfect place to do it. Jen, repeat viewing score.
Because it is so much like a poem, and because it's so short, I feel like it's something that I would quite happily revisit and watch again and possibly see other things in.
So this is both of your second times watching it, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. But although that's the other thing, I can pretty much always watch anything again because I've pretty much always forgotten it, which I had. So
Jen has a very bad memory is what she's getting at there.
The first time you watched it, was it on a TV or was it cinema type scenario?
On a TV, I think.
I'm not sure. I think I don't know. We might have seen it in the cinema. I can't remember. But that's the thing. It's not the kind of film that you remember seeing in the cinema. I think
there's no big crashy, bangy, wallopy sounds.
Right.
There's no super special effects.
And like you say, it doesn't really need a big screen, I don't think.
So repeat viewing score.
I'm going to go 5.
Okay. What's the film you've watched the most, Jen? If you can remember that.
I do remember that. And I actually even remember the film. I've watched it so many times. Before Sunrise.
Oh, okay.
Before Sunrise, which is one of my favourite
Which is
films
that? Which is that one?
The first one. Yeah. I love that film.
That's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
I just can't remember which order they come in.
No, I get that.
I sometimes say the wrong one. It's
too.
definitely the first one I mean.
Sure.
I think it's Sunrise.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful film, actually.
It is an amazing film.
And
that's short as well. The second one's the shortest. Yeah.
Either I've dreamt it or they all actually are on Netflix at the moment.
Are they? I don't know why I'm excited. I've got them on DVD.
So I haven't seen the last one, but I could have dreamt
You've never seen the last one?
No, because I
that's really
it's
really worth watching that.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, and that's actually before Sunrise, Before Sunset is quite a good reference point for for this kind of film as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think I said that to you. It's kind of like about a grandmother and a granddaughter, but it's kind of still a series of vignettes in a kind of location where you meet different characters and it's all in dialogue and stuff. So your repeat viewing was 5. I'm going to go for 5 as well because I loved watching it again and would watch it pretty much anytime anyone wanted to watch it with me.
Cool.
So for balance then, Dave, can you remember the film you've seen the most times or what you think is the most?
I mean, it's not going to be as kind of artistically impressive as Jen's. I think probably the film I've seen the most times is probably Independence Day because I love to watch it because it's so terrible.
You just love watching that alien get punched.
Yeah, I mean, I do love how terrible it is. Like, but it's also it's not just terrible. It gives me emotional responses. I just know they're based on nothing. But I definitely have watched that a lot of times for fun. But I don't tend to repeat watch stuff much, actually. I think there was like my younger years, I think I watched stuff more than I do now.
I think that's true of everyone now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just because you had a finite number of DVDs,
Right.
or Channel 4 or TV would show the same film a few times.
Right.
And you'd make sure you'd be watching it. You'd be at home instead of playing with your friends. You'd watch Back to the Future when it came on TV because it's like you loved it.
Right. And I didn't have a TV when I was at uni, so it was just DVDs or videos, I think, mostly back then. And so I didn't have trash TV to chill out with. So Independence Day was my trash TV. So I like watched it the same way people, I guess, would have been watching Friends or whatever.
Neighbours.
Around that time. Neighbours, yeah.
Helen.
And also we all have jobs now and things
True.
like that.
That's right,
So life gets in the way of repeat viewings of.
When I was at
Independence
uni,
Day.
I used to watch both editions of Neighbours.
Right.
When I look back
right.
and I just think I wasted what was I doing with my time?
Right.
It's only 25 minutes each episode.
I mean,
but still.
if you're tempted to watch both episodes of Neighbours in a day, you're probably better off watching Grandma twice in that day, or at least once. I guess once is about the same amount of time.
Helen.
Repeat viewing. If there's a situation where someone wanted to watch it and I was there, I'd watch it again, but I'm probably not going to go out of my way to watch it again. So I'm going to go for a 2.
Okay, I'm with you on the 2 there. I don't think I need to see it again. I think it's a really cool, interesting story, and it's a way of getting into Lily's character a bit and unpicking what she's been through. But watching it again, I'm comparing this to things like Little Miss Sunshine and those kind of films where I'd love to watch those again. But this one, it's fine for me. Yeah, Juno I want to watch again quite soon. Actually, thinking about that.
I'd like to see that again now.
Yeah, I mean, all of the films you're naming, I'd like to see again. But
small screen score, Jen.
Well, I think it doesn't benefit at all from. Well, if I've seen it on the big screen, I don't remember seeing it on the big screen. I don't see why it particularly needs to be on the big screen. And I think its shortness is really good on for the next. I think Netflix is a really good place for it, and therefore a small screen. I would like a bigger screen than we have, but that's a different issue. So I'm gonna go 5 again.
Cool.
yeah, I mean, I think I agree. A short film like this is great for a small screen. It also isn't about the special effects. It isn't about the sound design. All of the things that you can maybe get in a cinema. It doesn't require you to have. And I think the thing is, I think if this film speaks to you, then it's worth watching. And if it doesn't speak to you, then so that kind of goes back to the repeat viewing as well. I think it's interesting, like the 5s and the 2s. That's how I'd imagine it to be. Like, if you love this film, it'll be repeat viewing, and if it's okay, then you won't. What's the point in watching it again? So small screen score 5.
Helen.
I'm also going to give it a 5 because not only is it one of those ones that you can just happily watch on a TV without worrying about the picture quality, but also because it's one of those films that most people will have missed probably at the cinema and will have been of great interest to them. And there's probably going to be quite a few people who, like yourselves, will find it as enjoyable, and it could become like one of your top favourite films. So if this is your bag, then check it out.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 5 as well. I think perfect for Netflix. Like you guys, I don't want to reiterate the same things you guys have said, but if I'd have seen this in the cinema, I would have thought that's probably a waste of my money.
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
Travel
That's
time
fair.
to get to cinema.
I mean, cinemas are expensive.
And actually, if you did see it in the cinema, you'd want to be in one of the smaller rooms on a smaller screen, wouldn't you? Which is probably a sign that it's fine on a small screen.
Engagement score, Jen.
I didn't wander off. I didn't make a cup of tea. I didn't check how long. It passed the tea test. Yeah.
Points in a high score direction for you guys.
Didn't look at the time left at all. So I don't think I was wandering at all. I think that goes 5 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reluctant to also give it 5 because I don't like things getting too high scores. But
yeah, I feel a bit uncomfortable
it's
about it.
okay though because they're evening it out. So yeah, I'll go with 5.
Yeah. Helen.
I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, I was happy to go along with it.
Yeah. I'll give it a 4. I love Lily Tomlin. I can't remember. This is quite bad. I don't remember the daughter's name, the actress name, but she was in a TV show called The Ozarks.
Yeah, the granddaughter.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's in that. She's also in the Get Down as well.
Oh, she's in Get Down?
Yeah, she's in. Have you seen season 2 of Get Down?
I've seen like the first 2. I kind of dived out after.
So right, so you won't have met her yet.
I've not met her yet. I will watch it at some point. But I think she's great in Ozarks. I think I kind of agree with yourself, Helen, in terms that she was the less defined of the main 2 characters, but it really is Lily's film. But I would like seeing Laverne Cox, going back to Judy Greer, Sam Elliot, and visiting the knobhead's boyfriend and seeing that kind of.
Oh yeah, that's actually one of my favourite scenes in it when she beats up the boyfriend.
Engagement score 4, which means we have an overall score of 4.13, which
That's
is
pretty respectable.
That's pretty good score.
Yeah.
It's done better than I thought it was going to when we started.
You thought it was going to be really high, but then Helen said I didn't like it that much. But it wasn't shit. You never thought it was a proper shit film. You just didn't think it was
I think
as
this is
high.
the first
up
time our scores have ever completely matched.
Have we matched? Oh my god!
No, we never matched.
3, 2, 5, 4. Both on 3.5 overall. Guys, thanks for bringing Grandma to us. Can you let us know where we can find you online?
You can find us on Twitter at FamilyTreePod.
Yeah.
And you can find us online at thefamilytreepodcast.co.uk or anywhere that you go to find your podcasts.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find all of the episodes on our website, flixwatcher.tv. Want to give us your 5-star review? Follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter. Big shout out to our editor Brendan Russell for all his awesome editing skills, and thanks as always to the mighty people for their tunes.